Welcome back to Model and Mom. Today we're going to be talking about immigrating with a baby and being pregnant. So just a little bit of a backstory. My husband is from Israel and I am from South Africa, and we recently made the decision to move back to Israel. So I'm just going to talk about some of the challenges we faced with regards to home affairs and the difficulties that we had getting some paperwork and all the things that you're going to need for clearance in order to try immigrating. Every country is also different, so there might be one or two things that they will need, but we'll give you just the overview of the transition, especially if you are South African. So I hope you enjoy this video. Let's get started. Okay, so first off, number one, we didn't know that we needed to register our marriage with the Israeli embassy in South Africa. This was a big problem for us. We got married in 2016, so we have had years living together and no one gave us any indication that we needed to register our marriage overseas. So my husband wasn't seen as married, so this was a big problem. Which leads me to the next section. We needed to prove our marriage. Now, when you get married to an international, you need to have proof of your relationship. So keep all of those forms, those documents. It is quite important, and the photos and any of the expenditures for the wedding if you guys are planning to pay for it by yourselves. Also, if you have any bills that you guys, your names are both on them, that's very important as well, to show proof of shared expenditures. So we had to prove our relationship all over again. There's also something in South Africa that is letter of non-impediment. So that will prove your relationship status at that moment. So that's something that you should get before you get married, to prove that you are single, or if you've been divorced. It just proves the status of you as a person. Then you get married and then that status changes again, so it would be also beneficial if you get that document again. It's just a bit difficult with other countries. They need a lot of proof of the marriage, and the marriage certificate is just not enough. So just try to make sure that you have that. It's very, very important. So about apostles. So when you're doing the letter of non-impediment, I would suggest trying to get the following apostilled as well. So it can be quite costly, or it can take some time depending on which route you want to go. So for the first one, I would suggest apostille your birth certificate. So anyone that's going overseas, try to apostille their birth certificates. So for me, it was me and it was my son. Your marriage certificate, apostille that as well, and then obviously you've got your letter of non-impediment, apostille that as well. Next is the baby. So you're gonna need all of your paperwork from the hospital. So I would suggest keeping some of the information from the doctor that you saw previously before the birth. And then obviously if you were submitted into hospital, you would have your bills, and also the father's details should be on there, which is going to be very important as you need to prove that the baby daddy is the baby daddy. I don't even know how else to put it. So yes, so just get all the paperwork from the hospital. That also will just help prove the baby's birth date, because you're going to have your baby's birth certificate. So the next one I'm going to be talking about is the proof of the father. You will need to go to the doctor that you saw previously and just maybe ask him if he could just write you a letter stating that the father was there during the birth, that it is his father, that he is the father of the baby, if he'd be so kind to. Also just photos of when you guys were together, and just again proof of the relationship. Other than that, it would just be a paternity test, but that's very expensive. So obviously if you can't go that route, just do the second best thing and just try to get as much information as possible. Speaking of proof of the father, we need to get proof 1 year before your marriage. So that shouldn't be so difficult. Facebook is a fantastic tool, so use that to your advantage. Any photos that you uploaded, any statements that you made, any emails that you sent, technology is really amazing, so you can use that to your advantage. The proof of the marriage we spoke about, where you just need to make sure that you have shared expenditures. Also just like maybe take a couple photos of the wedding day and thereafter and your anniversary. And like I said, just make sure that if there's any bills, like for instance a house or a rental agreement, that both names are on the documents. And yes, the next part is medical insurance cover. In relation to Corona, I hope by the time that you see this video it's no longer here, but if it is, there's a couple of things that we did, procedures that were in place that we needed to follow. So I hope this is no longer relevant to you guys, but if it is, at least it will help. So when you travel, you get medical insurance. So just go online and check with your medical scheme, if you have one, about a medical insurance cover letter. You can just download it off your app, or you can get it emailed to you. That shouldn't be a problem. That's number one. Number two, also ask them if they could please write you a COVID clearance letter. It doesn't mean that you clear it for COVID at all. It just means that you're covered with your scheme, that you're a part of the medical aid or medical institution, that if you get COVID overseas, that it would be taken care of accordingly to your medical plan. That's all. And then don't forget to take a COVID test 2 days before you fly, obviously, and fill out the medical forms that you're going to be entering into the country. So for us it was Israel, so we had to go online the day before the flight and fill out all the medical information, and our address that we're going to be staying at, and all of that information, so if needed they could check up on us during quarantine. That's also another thing. You're going to have to go into quarantine if you're from a high risk country. South Africa is at this point, so yeah. So after quarantine, I would suggest you go and visit the countries that you're in, Home Affairs, and just check if your application with the embassy went through successfully and if there's any outstanding paperwork. And then you can always use DHL. I'm sure that there'll be people that will be willing to help you from the previous country that you're from. So yeah, basically that's it. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope that this video was helpful. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me.